Okay, so this video is gonna be for the logo design assignment. And your objective is to create a unique logo for your architecture company. And the directions recreate the logo you drew in your sketchbook on Adobe Illustrator. Take a photo with your cell phone, email it to yourself, then upload a photo to Illustrator. You can trace over the hand-drawn logo with the Illustrator tools. So that logo that you drew in your sketchbook, we're just going to place the photo on it and we're going to basically trace over it to make it a digital logo. Okay, so here are some examples before we begin. Okay, so this is a good one. This was in his sketchbook. Now he put it in a logo. This is another nice one. This is a super good one that had a lot of technical detail. And this one has pretty nice effects to it. Okay. So we're going to open Adobe Illustrator. One second. Okay. So we're at the screen and you are going to upload your sketch. So we're going to go ahead and open. And I know I tell you all to save your things in the Google Drive, but you need to save it on your desktop this time. So I have it in the Google Drive. You double click on your item. You're just going to download, and don't make fun of my logo for my sanity and my time. That's as good as it's going to get for this example. Okay. So I downloaded it onto the computer. So it's going to be in my downloads. So here it is. And we're going to open. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to make it fit on the paper. Okay, that's it. Now, for this, we're going to find out how to use layers and all the different effects that Adobe Illustrator offers. So if you look over here on your Layers tab, we are on layer 1. So this is on layer 1. So the little eyeball, this kind of is like SketchUp. It turns it off and on. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock that layer. That means I cannot go select it. Like it's stuck there. Okay. So what you want to do is leave it there and we're going to add a new layer. And you're going to go down to this little button and make sure you click the create new layer one and you're going to add it. Now this one you can start, drawing on it. So I'm going to show you kind of where we're going to end up with this. Okay, so this is the logo that we're going to end up with. You can see. So let's go back to Illustrator. I'm definitely going to need the text. We're not going to be using my handwriting as the text. And we're definitely going to need color, some outline, and then another text. So there's two different fonts, so we're going to need two text boxes. This is going to be one text box, this is going to be another, this is going to be an outline, and then color, okay? So let's go back to Adobe Illustrator, and I think this is actually too dark. So if I need to edit this, I'm going to go unlock it. I'm going to click on the other layer and we're going to go ahead and change the properties of this. I'm going to go back to properties and I'm going to change the opacity. I don't need to see all of that. I just need to barely be able to see it. Okay, go back to layers and unlock it. Now I'm going to go back to properties and I'm going to add a text box. Oops. Okay, it's not letting me add it because I'm on layer 1 and that's locked. Got to be on layer 2. You could also rename your layers if you just double click really quickly, so this is my logo, and now this is going to be text. Okay, so I'm going to do the text box. That definitely needs to be bigger, so I'm going to go to the properties, and I just need to, right about there looks fine. Definitely want to center it. Maybe larger. There we go. And I definitely want to change the font. 1 second. Okay. Well, not the font I want. See, so that font was on my computer at the house. We're going to go with that one. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and lock that, and I'm going to add a new layer. And I'm going to do like, the crystals right now. So in my mind, the crystals were to mimic like, buildings and houses and all that stuff. So that's why I did that. Oops. Okay. So there was a line like right there. So I'm just going to do a straight line, and I can do that by the pen tool. So the pen tool kind of allows you to, if you hold down shift, it'll only let you go on like 45 degrees, 90 degrees. So I'm just going to do it like that. I can get this, oops. You know what? We're going to use segment line tool. That's going to be easier. It's literally just a line. So I'm going to hold down shift, and I'll let you get a completely straight line. Get the selection tool. We're going to kind of center it right there. Properties, and let's make this thicker. We're going to leave it black. Okay. Okay, there's that line. Now we're going to go ahead and put the little words that I wanted, and I didn't put that on the sketch because I forgot, but we're going to do interiors, project management, and architecture. So I'm going to go to the other, and it's going to be text 2. Oops. I don't know what's happening. Okay, you can move your little boxes around. Anyways, I'm going to lock that one for now. While I do this other text, I'm going to add another text box. This little plus or this little red means that you have some text that's not fitting in there. So it's probably because my text was too big. And put interiors, architecture, project. Okay, and this was a different font. And then remember that you can play with your kerning and all that stuff. Oops. Delete. I'm just going to go ahead and line the box up with that line, and then everything will center itself. So I'm going to lock this one and go back to this text and unlock it and make sure it centers with that. Okay, now everything's center. Lock it, unlock this text, Okay, guess that's it. Lock it. Now we're gonna go ahead and do like the little crystals. So we're gonna use a pen tool. And what the pen does, allows you to draw. Oh, whoops. Okay, gotta create a new layer. I call this crystals 2. Wait. Okay, so I ended up using the line tool because it was easier to make straight lines versus the pen. So the pen is usually for curves, in order to not get, super straight lines. So I use the pen tool. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I use the line tool, line segment tool, and I just started at that path and I went up. I hold down my shift key so it can be completely straight. And then I kind of added another one right here because you hold down shift and then there. So what I would do is I would just bring that one down and have it intersect. Okay, now this is where some things come into play. So I'm going to select that, hold down shift again, and I want that. So you could always control C to copy and then control V. So once I have that, I could right click and transform and I could reflect it and it's going to reflect on vertically 90 degrees. I'm going to click OK. So it completely switches it. So I could just connect them right there. Let's go ahead and zoom in. And close it in. Okay, now that I have that, I can go ahead and do shift, hold on shift and select all your paths. And then you can right click and there's so many things that you can do now. Now we can group this. So this is going to be one crystal. So notice how if I try to move it, it moves as a group. Control Z to go back. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one because I was just showing you how to do it. So instead of doing, the others, I'm just going to do Control C, Control V. And what that does is now you can make it larger. See, and then you can make it wider if you want. So then I have the third one, and then Control C, Control V, and I can do it again. So it's, of course, however your logo is, that's just how mine is, and you could kind of edit it to how you want. So mine, I'm going to kind of do that, and we'll edit that later. Okay, so now that you have a group, there's a bunch of things that you can do depending on what logo that you have, okay? So we can group it, and now there's effects. So this is where it becomes too much for me to tell you what to do because everybody's logo is going to be different. There's so many things that you can do on Adobe Illustrator. You just got to play with it. So here's the effects. There's so many things that you can do. You just got to go through all of them and honestly just play with it. Okay. So for example, let's do a blur. Um, a lot of the times you're going to see a preview. It's probably not a good example. Okay, I'm going to show you the example on the text. So we're going to lock that for now. Okay, so I selected the text effects. You could also do it to text. So blur. Okay, that's a good example. Okay, so if you don't do preview, then it's not really going to show you preview. If you do preview, it will. So you see how it blurs it? There's just a bunch of different effects that you can do. You can cancel it depending on what you want, okay? I'm going to go delete that so I can see what we have here. Another thing to get to effects, you can right click and you can do, where is it? Oh, here it is. So you can just select it and you can do FX and it has a bunch of different things over here as well, kind of in the effects. So we're going to lock that and I'm just going to work on this one. Gotta unlock it. Whoops. Okay, so I have this selected. Something that you can do is whenever you want to fill an object, you can always go to, you have to make sure your lines are closed in. You can go to Live Paint and you could do Make, and that'll make it to where you can paint. So remember, you have to have a closed object. So you're going to go to Fill, and you just fill it with a color. Again, you can change the opacity if you want, whatever you want to do. You could also put a different stroke. So if you wanted to change the stroke color, you can. Okay. So see a bunch of different things you can do with that. And then notice how I have the lines on top. So that's just a different layer. Um, I did use a glow effect kind of right here. So it's just another layer of lines on top of that. And then this is a pattern. Okay. So there's just a bunch of things that you can do. So you can go to fill. There's a library of different types of stuff that you can use. Uh, see, I mean, there's so much you can do. What? Oh, they're just colors of foods. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do. Um, you just got to kind of play around with it. You again Control Z if you want to go back. And then once you have your color, then of course you can add different effects. So you can go to, and again, this is gonna change so much depending on what you draw. So that'll make it grainy. That'll make, I don't know what that is, mosaic tiles, texture, stained glass, patchwork. You could change the intensity, the contrast. Okay, done. See? That's it. So once you're done, again, you could just do one and then you could Control C, Control V. There's a bunch of other stuff you can do. There's different brush strokes. Let's see. So you can have two different ones. There's just so many things that you can do that I cannot probably teach all of y'all because it'd just take too much. Let's see. If you wanted to overlap it, then I would overlap that one and I would arrange, and then remember you can bring to front. Another thing is this is, so see how my crystal is behind the words? If I were to move the text in front of it, it automatically goes to the front. So you could change the layers order instead of arranging to the front and back. Don't forget that if you, let me unlock it. Don't forget that if you selection tool. Oh, here it is. Don't forget that if you select on an object, you can always right click. There's already so many things that you can do as well. You could transform it, you could arrange it, bunch of stuff. Okay, so let's say I'm done. Well, I never went over the rubric with you. Okay, so the directions were to, upload your photo, create your logo, all the resources. So if you get to a point where you're here and you want to do effects, you could always go to Effect Gallery, all you have to do is search in YouTube brushstrokes, Adobe Illustrator, and it'll show you how to use these. Maybe you want the splatter and the splatter isn't coming out how you want. Well, if you just search brushstrokes, Adobe Illustrator, splatter, there's somebody who's going to teach you how to do that specific command. Um, so you could use YouTube. And then an example of a technique is this. So what you're going to have to do is go to effect. You're going to have to tell me the technique that you use. So I did this, right? This was, I forgot what it was. But anyway, so what we did was we clicked effect. We went to, well, I remember this one. We went to effect, we went to brush strokes, and then we went to, okay, I don't remember. And then we went to crosshatch. Yeah. Okay. And then we just did that stroke and we click OK. So that's an example of a technique. So then when you go back onto Adobe, when you go back to your assignment, all you would have to do is tell me what you did. So kind of like that. Effect, brush strokes, crosshatch, OK. Unless you did something else here. So that's all it is. You're just telling me what you did to get the effect on your specific logo. And then at the end, we will all share. So um, everyone's going to have something different. If we just share what we learned, then we could get a lot more information like that instead of individually having to go search how to do everything from one of us. So you have to have a technique. One technique is 10 points, two techniques is 20 points, okay? So that's how you kind of use Illustrator to create your own logo. Again, once you're done with that, you want to save it so you don't lose it. And you could type logo, save it under your name or your ID. Save it as Illustrator, you come back and edit it. You always want to do that. Now, in order to turn it into the Google Classroom, you have to save it as a PDF. So let's just do OK. Now, let's say this is done. You're going to do File, Save As, PDF. And I like to put PDF at the end of it so I know that one's a PDF. And then under your name or ID and save. Okay, so the PDF is what you're going to turn into the Google Classroom once it's completed. And that's it.